Okay. Awesome. Awesome. So I think okay, it's official. Okay. So wow. So I am so excited today. So happy Aloha Friday. I am excited to be here in order to just have an amazing guest, Gloria. As you can already see, she's already here with us and joined us today. And so this is going to be the first of many. So I'll just do a brief introduction. Uh, Most of you all may know me as Nina, also known as the messenger. That is when I write, when I create, as a spoken word poet, a MC, motivator, speaker, hopefully example for the youth. I go by the messenger, which stands for the message in her, and you just say it as the messenger. And I am also a joyful, spectacular, stunningly gorgeous human being, courageously committed to making a positive impact in the world now. So that's who I am. Yes, clap after that one. And I'm excited to be here today because this is something that has been a vision of mine, something that's been in my heart, and it really is about embracing that now. So, this is the first official Dropping Gems podcast. Yes, I said it, it's out there. This is the first official Dropping Gems podcast. And so, just a little backstory. Um, this episode, I actually would like to dedicate to a dear friend of mine who just passed away. So, a shout out to now an angel of mine, Jason Baggio. We know him as Jason or Boggs. And he had a really cool podcast that was called, or he has a really cool podcast called How You Gist, GYST, and it stands for How You Get Your Shit Together. So I'm pretty sure that it's still up on a number of platforms. So just look it up, How You Just, and just listen to, some of the guests that he has on there, just amazing people that he knows. And so I dedicate this to him. Rest in peace. He just passed away recently. And me and him talked about me having a podcast maybe like almost 3 years ago, I want to say. And so it's now, it's never too late, so now is the time. And I'm here with Gloria today. Jason is also a mutual friend of hers, so she just knows how much of an amazing human being, he was, but his spirit still remains, so he is. And yeah, we're going to dedicate this first podcast of Dropping Gems to Jason. And so, Dropping Gems, more or less, is an acronym or an acrostic for dropping. The G is for greatness, and then there's three E's. So, education, edification, and of course, empowerment. And then there's two M's, which stands for mindfulness and motivation. And the S brings it all together as synergy. So, this is officially the Dropping Gems podcast. And I like to officially welcome my first guest. I'm excited to have this amazing woman and friend on um, the podcast today, just because she's been there in different increments in my life. And we've kind of been on like this personal journey, individually, however, together, because there, is support and there's people in the community. And so, yeah, she's just been an amazing light in my life. And she's currently actually coaching me and working with me right now as we speak. We're coming up to the end of it, of her magnificent mastermind. So I'm not going to spill all the beans about it. I'm going to allow her to talk about it. So welcome to Dropping Gems, Gloria. If you could just introduce yourself, say who you are and what it is that you do.
Thank you for having me, Nina. So I am Gloria Payoyo. I am a woman owning her whole self. And I am a beautiful, deserving, inspirational woman, courageously surrendering to intimacy and prosperity in my life now.
Yes, you are.
And what I do, I'm a coach, mainly focused on self-love and mindset. And I help people discover who they are. I have different programs. So discover who they are and align their life according to that. Also have a program just to kind of hone in on focus on how to get goals. And then the Magnificent Mastermind is 12 weeks of going hard to go after a big goal that you've been wanting to go after, but has scared you. And then the 13th week, we celebrate and focus on all of the wins.
Okay, awesome. So that's just the tip of the iceberg. She's being very modest right now, as far as like she could be here probably for a while listing all the magnificent things that she does and what she does in the community. I really enjoy linking up with Gloria. And then we have two more other sisters. Well, just a group of women that really want to give back to the community and give to the next generation. So that would be our youth. We did a really amazing just edification empowerment day for some of the foster care youth and teenagers that are at risk, that are actually in the foster care, I guess, system, is what you would call it. And it was just amazing. Everyone was there. They served and volunteered their time, their talent, and their treasure. And Gloria was one of the masterminds behind it, you know, the logistics and everything. And it was just great. We rented out, you know, a banquet room in a hotel, and everyone that showed up really just had a heart to be there. There was things from, you know, entertainment to poetry, performances. There was places in which they could create, like, you know, body oils, and it was really about self-love. They could get henna tattooing. They could get a bracelet with affirmations or quotes on it. And I mean, there were so many stations and so many things there for them to be able to receive from and partake in. And it was just really a beautiful experience, as well as the other youth events that she has hosted and has put together. And she invites me out. I'm like, okay, you know, I feel like the cool auntie, you know, the cool auntie that can like kind of go between, like, you know, the
Yeah.
adults and the youth and the teenagers. So thank you for always thinking of me. It's always a blast. And yeah, like the young people, you know, they see real, so real recognize real, so they will definitely, you know, let you know if you're connecting with them or if you're not. So today's topic I'm really excited to talk about. Today's topic is something that I really feel is important, no matter where you are, in what stage you are in life, how old you are, what it is that you're doing, occupation, career wise. It's just an amazing topic because it really is kind of like the root or the foundation. So this is why I wanted to have this as the first topic, to just kind of lay out what it is, and for a foundation for the Dropping Gems podcast. And of course, to build on that and have other guests come out and talk about different subjects as well too. So today, without further ado, we are going to get into our topic, and it's going to be about mindset. So you are like, you know, you are like an expert when it comes to mindset, when it comes to, you know, just like, what does that mean? Because I feel as though, or I think that it's something that we hear a lot more often now, right? Because people are, there's like a awakening of a consciousness among humanity, especially with the amount of downtime that we've had to do a lot of reflection, introspection, during this, you know, pandemic and COVID and what it has done, you know, to the whole world. And so mindset, just kind of, if you could just start by just saying, what do you think of when you think of mindset, and why did you choose to like specialize or learn more or become an expert in something like mindset?
I didn't choose it, it chose me.
Okay.
So,
That's how you know. There was no other choice. It chose me. That's okay. Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
For me, mindset is how we see things, right? So it's sort of perspective, and a little bit deeper than that, right? For me, it came to me because when I really went on my healing journey, the biggest shift for me was to see the good parts of me versus the bad parts of me, right? To see that I was already showing up and doing things instead of beating myself up for the like 10% that I wasn't doing. However, I was doing 90% of it. So when I was able to reframe how I saw myself, then the game changed. Because then all of a sudden I am on my own team. I do have my own back. I am swinging for myself and acknowledging myself and celebrating myself along the way. And so it just sort of, because, just being a coach and my whole thing as a coach is for you to see your own greatness, right? Like, it's so funny how we can see it out here so easily, yet seeing it within ourselves, we tend to focus on our flaws, on our shortcomings. And then when we're looking at the world, we're kind of focused on the beautiful things that we're seeing out in the world and the amazing things that people are doing. And and it's just a reflection, right? It's just a mirror trying to show us like, hey, you're doing these things too. And for me to really change the game in our own lives is when we can see ourselves as whole and take responsibility for the good just as much, if not more, as the bad. And that sort of became the game changer.
Okay. So you just said a whole lot right there. It was just like, it was a snapshot of, you said a lot, and even like your verbiage that you were using. I know that there's people that's watching it that's going to be like, okay, I get what she's saying. I identify with it. With dropping gems, I want it to be so fundamental and so foundational that if someone has never even heard the word or the terminology mindset or reflection or perspective, you know what I mean? Because the things that you're saying is because of your mindset, right? So our vocabulary changes, the way we communicate changes, everything. So you said a lot. So I just want to take, a moment and maybe just kind of have you break down some of those areas, because I want it to be something that they can really catch, that they can really take ownership of, and just kind of, let it marinate, digest on it. So when you say the mindset, okay, you talked in there, and this is the first thing that's coming to my mind. So I'm just going to have you kind of elaborate on it. You mentioned responsibility, okay, and I think that what happens is that for some people in their mind, they feel as though they have a lot of responsibilities or obligations or other things, right? So it doesn't really allow them to embrace their greatness because of the things that they have, the responsibilities, the obligations. So if you could just share, when you say responsibility, what you're actually referring to when you say responsibility, because I think sometimes it could have like a negative connotation, right? Like a responsibility, like, oh, stuff I have to do. So when you say that, to take responsibility of yourself, could you just kind of break down what you actually mean by that, or what you're saying?
Yeah, sure. Ownership, right?
Okay.
Instead of things happening to me, how is this happening for me? What is this showing me? So it's sort of shifting the perspective, or coming from a different place, coming from a place of, how is this serving me? How can I adjust it so that I can move forward in the way that I prefer, in the way that I want? Did that answer the
Okay.
question?
Yeah, somewhat. Okay. So you also mentioned it's a reflection, right? You said that a couple of times, like it's a reflection. So when I think of a reflection, I think of a mirror or maybe a window. You walk past, you kind of check yourself out or whatnot. So I guess the thing is, you say it's a reflection. And yes, a lot of times we often do see the great things in other people and not necessarily the great things in us. So I guess the reason why I wanted to talk about mindset is because what if that mirror is broken, right? So you have different fragments that are seeing different angles or different things. Or what if you're the type of person that when you walk past that mirror or catch that reflection, you don't like what it is that you see, or you avoid you just walk past the mirror, you do what you need to do, and you only look at it, and then you're out the door on your way. Or you see a reflection and you're just like, you don't necessarily like what you see. So if that's the case, what could you say would be something that someone could maybe do or implement if that's honestly where they find themselves at?
Okay. So I would say first, if you can see it in other people, it's in you too.
Okay.
So that would be first acknowledging that if I can see it out here, then it's somewhere in here. I might not be able to see it at the moment, yet if I can see it out here, it's somewhere in here. There's lots of tactics. So do we want to go into tactics or more just the mindset?
Mindset. Let's focus
Okay.
on mindset, and then I'm gonna have you, share with us some practical things that we can do. But I'm just saying, like, what would be the beginning step of the mindset? And you said just know and trust and believe that
Yeah.
if you can see it in another individual, if you can see it in the world around us, if you can see it in the beauty of the trees, it doesn't just have to be a person. It could be an object. It could be anything. If you see that, that means that somewhere within you possess that, you have it as well. So that's why it's able to be attractive to you, more or less. Okay, really good. Okay, so
I would also add, just find one thing you like about yourself, one thing, right? And it can be external, it can be internal, it can be I like my eyes, it can be I like my heart, I like my empathy, I like my, whatever. Find one thing that you like about yourself to begin that process of self-love.
okay, and you kind of led me right into it, because self-love is such a coined term nowadays. It's
Mm.
like self-care, self-love, self-care, self-love. Make sure you're getting that self-care in, make sure you're getting that self-love. And it's like, what does that even really mean? Like, I know it sounds great to hear love, self-love. We used to hear a lot growing up about self-esteem. And so it's like, okay, self-love. What would you say to someone that, it's foreign to them, of what self-love is, or their ideal of love, right? Because it includes that word love. So it's like, what if what I have been used to receiving, or what I think is love, what if it's distorted? What if love, I know love is something that my experience, not that that's what love is, right? Because
Yeah.
love is beautiful, it's healing, it's amazing. However, what if my experience with love was something contrary to what love is? How do I then, begin to self-love?
Um, so for me, the journey with self-love is I could so easily give it to other people. However, I couldn't give it to myself. Right. And I'll just be very open and honest and transparent. I grew up in a very abusive home. Even if my parents didn't treat me a specific way, or the way that I would have liked to be treated, or the way that I think a parent should treat their child, I was expected to treat them a certain way. So I knew how to give love. I didn't necessarily know how to receive love. So for me, the self-love journey has been about what I will do for others, I start to do for myself. If I will give grace to someone else, I will give grace to myself. If I will give time and space to someone else, then I give time and space to myself. If I would scold my daughter for not going to the bathroom all day, then I would encourage myself to do those things that maybe we would put on the back burner. So I always knew how to give love. And so for me, that journey was what I would naturally give to everyone else. Then I just turned and gave some of that to myself.
Mm.
Did that answer the question?
Okay, that's good. So what what I'm hearing you say is that you're talking about a journey, right? So
Mhm.
even now, being an actual coach, and speaking into other people's lives and helping them, and bringing them along with you on this journey, would you say that even now, even today, that it's still part of your journey, your work in progress? Or is it like every day I'm living myself and like, oh yeah, girl, like, you know what I mean? Like you are it, and, et cetera. Like, what does that look like? Because I think that one of the things is that sometimes us, we think that we have to go from one way to another way.
Mhm.
However, it's that journey in between of
Yeah.
getting there, right? Because it's mindset. So you have all these programs, you have all these years of, like you said, abuse from a child.
Yeah.
Now you're a 30 something year old adult, and you have these things. So what is that self love looks like? You said you started turning it on yourself and you started giving it to yourself. However, like practically, like what are some of the things that you did or that you had to overcome or that you recognized while being on this journey?
For me personally, first
Yeah.
of all, I love you. I'm 42, so thank you for saying 30 something.
Oh, snap. Okay. Okay. I was, just, putting it out there.
I love you for that. Um, okay. So it's a journey, right? Like I'm still here on this earth, so I'm not done. And as I have made a conscious decision to continually grow. So it's a journey. I have days where I'm on top of the world, everything's great. Okay, so I'm going to talk about leveling up, right? Okay. So I see it as a video game. So when I first come to a new level of a video game, I suck at it, and it's going to whip my, can I curse? It's going to whip my butt.
You said we're going to keep this real and organic. So don't have to ask permission to be yourself. Be authentic.
I curse, so I'm going to curse. So when we get to that new level, it whips our ass, right? Mm-hmm. It's when things go from super easy to all of a sudden it's like trudging through mud. It's everything sucks. Everything's working against me, being in that mindset of like, oh, why do I have to deal with this again? And then new lessons come in. We get to repeat those lessons until we decide to learn them. And then we get better at them. And then that's when it's like, I am on top of the world. Like I've learned the lesson. I've streamlined this shit, right? Like I'm good. And then I get brought to a new lesson, right? So then I might do that level up again. So for me, it's the same thing. It's not a linear journey. It's not a journey like this. It's a journey like this. However, the trajectory is going up. So no, there's not days that, there are days where I feel like the world is whipping my butt. So I have coaches and mentors too.
Okay.
And I also, as long as I'm doing the work myself, and I can tell you as a coach, it's very important for me to do my own work, because if people are reflections, what I'm avoiding will be reflected to me. So to make my life easier and to be able to add as much value to people and serve people, the more I do within myself, the more I can help other people, because what I'm avoiding is going to walk into my office and stare me in the face. Right? So I'm always on the journey of learning the lesson that I'm brought to at the moment. And then I forgot the rest of your question. I'm sorry.
Okay. No, yeah, that was great. So one of the things that I know you mentioned is that, for instance, you grew up in a household in which you knew how to show love. However, you didn't know what it was like and you didn't know how to receive love, right? So when we talk about love, I want to, be clear that love is not just a feeling, right? Like love is an energy. Love is a feeling. Love is, a number of things. It's not just, it encompasses a lot of different things. And so, if you could just talk about the importance of being able to receive love. Like we're all capable, we're all able. However, what is that in which you say, I had to learn how to receive love? If you could just kind of share like what that looks like, because I think that for those that have had a distorted ideal of what love is, maybe even as an adult in a relationship, or a marriage or a business partnership ended or anything. These are all relationships. So when I say relationships, it's not only catered towards your significant other. It could be a relationship with anyone in your life, etc. So what like what does that look like when you say able to receive love, and how did you get to the root? Like, what did you identify as being, I guess, your reason or hindrance for not receiving love, if that makes sense?
Um, so the reason why I couldn't, so that's an easy one for me. So the reason why I couldn't is because it's easier for me, it's control, right? It's easier for me to not allow it in because I expect it to be abusive or painful, or you know what I mean? To be similar to how I experienced love growing up. So that was the reason why I had that to begin with. The reason why I decided to change is because we're just going to keep repeating the lesson. And so if I'm brought to the lesson of being open to receiving love, I will continue to be in situations that will repeat the past, right? So then I find myself with a partner who can't love me because I can't love myself. And so I mean, I had the same husband for 21 years, so it's not like, but even in my youth with my boyfriends before I got married and stuff like that, I would find people who they could only do for me what I could do for myself, I guess, just to simplify it. And so for me, it was the inspiration to do it. My daughter learns more from who I am than what I teach her. And so watching her struggle in relationships, watching her struggle with being vulnerable, watching her struggle with these things, at first, it kind of pissed me off because it's like, I raised you so different than how I was raised. You know, you were raised so different, yet she might have been like at a 20 or 30%, and I might have been like at 100%. However, she shared my same issues. And so that was for me the real reason of like, okay, well, I got to figure this shit out. Because, you know, she's 17, but when I really started to see that, like, I have a short amount of time to figure this shit out, because if I don't, when she leaves my house, she's going to walk away with the same, you know, lesser shit, but the same shit. Right? And so as I grow and heal and shift and change and become more of who I want to be and who I would love her to be, then that just sort of automatically happens. So I could tell her a million times that it's okay for her to, you know, be safe and open up. Yet if she sees her mother constantly, you know, with a wall up and pushing people away, well, that's who she is. That's who you know, I'm her main influence. So for me, that was my inspiration of why I was going to do this work, even when it was challenging, even when doing it was because we're so comfortable with where we're at, right? Even when I stretched so far that everything in me wanted to go back to normal. Right? And there was that point of like, well, am I going to go back to normal, or am I going to break free from this shit? And do I want to be in that area? Absolutely. However, when I couldn't do it for myself, I did it because she was watching me. If that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Because, you know, one of the things that you mentioned, and I know that comes up in a lot of families, right, is what's considered generational, right? So you have things like generational blessings, generational curses, generational habits, generational debt, generational wealth, right? So these are the things that are being passed on within our legacy to the next generation, and the generations before us pass something down to us, right? So when you say when you say that, of course, it makes a lot of sense. And it brought to mind a number of people that I know currently, that are within a certain, I guess, level of coming into consciousness, or really coming into the awareness, or already on their journey when it comes to that. And one of the things that I hear, throughout, is a lot of people drawing the line in the sand, more or less, saying that, the buck, it stops with me. I'm gonna be a generation. Yeah, I see how my parents did it. I seen how my grandparents did it, I seen how my aunties and uncles, and I seen how other people did it. However, I don't want to live that story of love, or not being able to receive love, or broken, marriages, or broken relationships, or broken, things that, when it comes to broken mindset, right? Because mindset is so critical, because mindset impacts so many things in our lives, because mindset is what creates in us like a real reckoning of stepping into our greatness, right? Like you said, like to be able to embrace your greatness. And that's one of the reasons why the name of my business is EYG Now, which stands for Embrace Your Greatness Now, embrace our greatness now. And the reason for that is we all have greatness. It's not something that we have to necessarily pursue and go after. And then also, we don't want to tarry with it. It's like now, like what can we do just now? It doesn't have to be night and day. It's just what step can we take now? So I know I kind of went on a couple of things, but I'm going to bridge it back. So generationally, what I was saying is I see a lot of that, and there's a lot of things that we have endured that has happened to us, right, in our mind, right. However, you mentioned something that, how do we look at things and say this happened for me, as opposed to what happened to me? Because I believe there's a lot of things growing up that we don't, and again, you mentioned control, that we don't have control over. So when those things happen, how is it happening for us as opposed to happening to us? And I think I want you to share on that, so that we can just kind of go to a place of people that are, in a place of wanting to be open to, why do I think the way I do? Why do I do the things I do? What that kind of looks like.
Sure. So I'll go at it two ways. So when we're younger, the things that we that happen to us, we are perfectly built for our purpose. It may have felt like shit going through it. Right? So for me, the reason why I'm so passionate about giving back to middle and high school teenage girls is because that is where I struggled the most in my life. And thankfully, there were people around that could see me bigger than I could see myself. And that's why I believe it's an underserved population, like the little cute ones get a lot of attention. However, middle and high school, maybe we get a little difficult at that point. And so it might be a little bit harder to love on someone who's a little bit more difficult and feisty. So the stuff for our youth that happened to us in our youth happened for us because that's part of why we're here. If I'm here to make a big impact with middle and high school girls, if I'm here to make a big impact with empowering women, and if I'm here to make those impacts, then I was built in a way that it resonated. I was built in a way, how do I say it? I was built in a way so that it would really, really matter to me. And the way for me, for it to really matter, is for me to experience the opposite. I know what it feels like to be a lost kid. I know what it feels like to be angry. I know what it feels like to have experienced so much life by middle and high school that it was like, what adult's going to tell me shit, right? And because I've lived that, I also can imagine, or just sort of have a sort of knowingness of like, well, okay, we're serving middle and high school girls, so they have experienced a lot of life. They might have a chip on their shoulder. How are we going to take on the burden of opening them up within a short amount of time? How are we going to be cool and relevant to where they like us so that they'll actually be open to what we have to share to them? So kind of learning how to reach them, because I remember what I was like back then when people were trying to reach me. So that's the past. Our mess is our message.
Got it.
In the now, when things are happening to us, what they really are, and I apologize, there's planes flying over my house.
Oh no, no worries, no worries. I know where you stay at on that side. Planes come in, they take off, and they're loud.
They so yes. So now the way that it works is, if there is something in me that is ready to be healed, it will smack me in the face until I actually heal it. So those are the lessons, right? If I'm in a state of, so I'll give you an example. I was working with someone who was triggering me deeply. And so trigger means I'm getting angry or frustrated, that I'm not liking it. So I'm working with someone who's triggering me, and I'm getting frustrated and working with this person. And yet this person is doing the best that they can, right? This person isn't trying to piss me off, and I'm getting pissed off. And so having that realization of, she's doing everything she can, what's going on within me? And so looking at, how is she pissing me off, right? How am I getting angry and upset? Well, it's in, these ways. Okay, now here's the mirror, right? In these, like, let's say these 3 ways. And these 3 ways, she's really pissing me off. Okay, well, where am I doing that in my life that I'm not acknowledging? Where am I doing that in my life that I'm avoiding or denying or acting like I'm not doing it? Where am I being hypocritical? And then if I'm willing to see those 3 things, then making that choice to change, or making that choice to stay the same. So that's how it's happening for us, of like, if, I guess just because I'm speaking to that example, if I'm seeing where, she's being too busy and she's not paying attention, she's going too fast and she's not paying attention. Okay, where am I doing that in my life? Oh, I'm doing that. I'm in the process of divorcing my husband. Oh, I'm doing that in my divorce, right? I'm not actually paying attention because it's unpleasant and I don't want to look at it. So I'm allowing things to go too fast without paying attention to it. Okay, what else is bothering me? Oh, well, she's allowing things to like spin her day, right? So she's not focused because she's, okay, where am I doing that? Oh, well, I have a friend that calls me up and that needs support. And so I actually spend a couple hours over here versus spending hours here in a program that I'm developing that would be able to serve so many more people. So seeing that mirror of, what are the things that are pissing me off or making me upset or making me sad or whatever they are, and where am I doing that in my life? And so that's how it's working for us, because it's just showing us things that we aren't acknowledging. Oh. And it's doing a little bit of smacking us in the face with it until we're willing to see it.
Okay, that's that. And you know what? When you said that, what came to mind was a couple of different, passages, but one that really stuck out is, there is an actual scripture, and I know there's also, Proverbs and other things that kind of liken the same ideal of what it says, but it's a scripture that talks about pointing out the splinter that's in your neighbor's eye. Basically, when you're walking around with like a whole 2x4, you know what I mean? Like, more or less in modern day terms. I don't know the exact like King James version of it. However, in modern day times, you'd be like, you're walking around with a splinter, like you see someone splinter, or maybe it is more of an issue for them. So maybe it's a toothpick, and then you're walking around with like a 2x4 or like a whole tree trunk, because you're seeing it in them. And like you're saying, it's still going to be a reflection. In our mind, we see it as, oh, mine is smaller, theirs is larger. However, that reflection is just based off of our perception, and so when you said that, that's kind of, what came to mind. So you're like, oh yeah, it just slaps me in the face. And it's like, yeah, it's being able to see something, even those flaws, those shortcomings in someone else, is also the other side of the coin of seeing all the great things and the great characteristics and things that we admire, in somebody else as well too. I wanted to kind of, we don't have to harp on it. However, you're using words that in today's society and today's culture we kind of hear a lot, and trigger is one of those. Like, whether it's someone trolling, whether it's an actual legitimate experience of someone being ignorant or being rude, we hear a lot about, oh, are you triggered, or I was triggered, or trigger this and trigger that. So it's like one of those things that it's like, if someone is finding themselves, I guess my question would be, being triggered a lot or having a lot of triggers, and they find that whether they're around coworkers or around their family, or even strolling through social media, etc., when there's that many triggers, I think that it's like there's so many like little landmines everywhere, right?
Mhm.
So it's like you were saying, like, to be open to receive love. However, if I am looking to meet you in a place of giving you love, yet I have to navigate all these landmines, right? Because if I say this, or if I step here, or if I do this, now you're triggered. You know what I mean? Now it's like, so I guess, like, what would be something that someone could do when they find themselves being triggered or having a lot of triggers? I know you said, like, look and see where's that at in me, but sometimes that can be difficult. Like, I see it in them, however, I don't necessarily want to acknowledge that I do that as well too, at a different level. So what would be kind of something, that's maybe not too invasive, right? Because it's a journey and there's
Yeah.
levels, right, of that reflection. That if someone is finding themselves triggered.
Um, so just a simple thing, if you're not at the point, because sometimes things do show up that have been owning our ass our whole lives and we're not quite ready to look at it, right?
Mhm.
Then it's about, so I'm going to use other grounding and centering. so, and so grounding and centering is just coming back to who we are, right? So for me, that's just a moment of, okay, I'm going to stop paying attention to what's happening out here, and I'm going to look within. I'm going to slow things down, right? Because a lot of times when I'm in that state of being triggered, like, things speed up, right?
Mm.
I'm going to take a second to slow things down and calm my nervous system down so that I can see clearer.
Mm.
Because I don't want to be in that fight or flight, high, like something's coming at me mode. I want to be in a state of, can I actually see what's really happening? Because that person, sometimes someone could really be coming at you. However, for
Right.
the most part, they're not necessarily trying to come at you. If they're not trying to come at you, then it's just that moment. And for me, I just breathe. I
Mm.
talk about taking a moment, closing your eyes, feeling your feet on the ground. When we're up in our head and our head is freaking out and screaming and yelling, and we're focused on it, if we just stop and focus on our feet, then the head gets quieter. The deep breathing, the holding in your breath, holding it for a few seconds at the top, letting it out with a sigh, which is just it doesn't have to be it can be if you want, but it doesn't have to be. Just slows down the nervous system, right? Take you out of that fight or flight response. If you are in a situation where someone is really coming at you, then you need to get yourself to safety first, and then come to that place of centering and grounding, which is just slowing things down, coming to who you are so you can see clearly.
That's really good. Because as you were saying that, I was thinking about breath. Because I know for me, once I get, once I get riled up, or if if I allow myself to go down the rabbit trail and get anxious, or, I'm triggered and stuff, I'm gonna, I'm working on my journey as well too. I know that for me, that my breaths become very shallow. It's
Mhm.
just like they're super shallow, and I'm like attempting to like process it and work through it in my mind, and it really is a place of like to ground and to come back centered, like just whatever it is, those thoughts, and attempting to silence them, right? Even though they're still going on, I noticed that breathing, like being mindful of my breath, and
Mhm.
making sure that I fully inhale and I fully exhale, right? And the funny thing about it is that when it comes to breath, it also makes me think about like when people are eating, right? So there's some people that can sit down to have a meal, right? And you look over and their plate is like empty. And it's like, did the food even like touch your taste buds? Did it like, hit all places within your mouth and you just inhale it? Like, and it's funny because that's what it makes me think about, like when it comes to the breath, right? So having the food, right? And in school and growing up, they tell us to chew your food, X amount of time so that, of course, to prevent choking, to help with digestion, etc., are the reasons. They're not saying, oh, just, do this mundane task of just chewing, 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 chewing. There's actually benefits because the food begins to break down with your saliva and you begin to digest it. And, maybe it prevents you from having heartburn or from choking. And, you actually get to enjoy the food, right? And so that's what came to mind, that it's like, yeah, like, do we just, when we're triggered, do we just inhale it as things just moving so fast, or do we actually take that time to, to enjoy, to savor the flavor more or less, in a way of like breathing, being in the moment, making sure that you're still within your body, that you're getting grounded. And I think that that's something, I seen a really cute video actually, on Facebook or something in the news feed, and it was super cute. It was like a 6-year-old brother, that
Mhm.
the younger brother that was like 3 was having some type of a tantrum, and he was just like, bro, bro, you gotta breathe, just
Yeah.
breathe. And he was just and it was just so adorable to like see that, because a lot of times, right, I think I seen a meme or something recently saying that, like, nowadays a lot of adults are basically just like grown kids, having tantrums, getting triggered, the things that you think are, oh, that's immature, that's juvenile. However, if you don't change the mindset, again, it's going to go generation to generation, year to year, even in your age, So if your, emotional intelligence, because that's also something that, that is significant with people as well, is still in a place of being stunted or not growing, right? Then your mindset is still not going to allow you to be able to process those things. And a lot of people, for whatever reason, it's their triggers, it's the mindset, not to put a highlight or anything on what's going on now. However, it does bring to mind some of the recent tragedies of people acting out because they were triggered. Like one of the news, press said that the individual, there's a number of things, the monster, the terrorist, etc., right? That, slaughtered innocent people was referenced as to having a bad day. And it's
Yeah.
like, well, what if he had just taken that moment before he loaded up in his vehicle with those weapons, doing what he was doing, took a moment to put his feet on the ground, to ground and center himself, to breathe, to be in the moment, right? Um, what significant difference would that have made? And I know that in our day to day, people within our circles are at that level. But one of the things, even in youth and young adult, that has been very prevalent has been anxiety, to the point where people are just crippled with anxiety, or their mind just goes and goes and goes and goes. And then it leads to depression. And then it leads to, these things because of mindset, because our mind is so powerful, right? There's proverbs, there's scriptures, there's books that talks about, as a man, as a woman thinketh, so is he or she, right? Like our mindset, and then also through what we know, with the community and science stuff, it talks about to think is to create. Like, what are we thinking? What are we creating in our lives? And that's why I wanted to talk about mindset. I'm definitely, gonna explore this more avenues and things, and definitely would love to have you on again. But yeah, mindset is so important, so key. Um, so when it comes to mindset, right? Because we all are at different places in our journey. I guess now would be a great place for you to kind of share some practicality or some technical things, right? So you mentioned the breathing and getting grounded. What are some other things that we can do along this journey, depending on where we are, to kind of help mindset?
One of the biggest things for me was meditation. My mind used to be so incredibly loud and chattering all day long. So I love the Headspace app just because it explained it in such simple terms. I'm a person that likes to know why.
Okay.
So if I want to know why, Headspace is great because it'll explain why. And just to create distance, right? I love the metaphor that they sort of used is it's you're not, if there's a busy street, you're not in the street stopping the cars, and the cars are your thoughts, right? You're not in the street stopping the cars. You just walk to the side of the street and you're observing the cars. So it's not about controlling the thoughts in the head. It's just about creating distance so that they don't own you. I've done EFT or tapping, and that's where you're saying affirmations. You can YouTube it. It's where you're saying affirmations and you're tapping on certain parts of the body. Yeah. And so, yeah, okay. So you're bringing in that nervous system. I think that's one thing, that nervous system, right? So many of our nervous systems are kind of on fire. And that was me before, right? Like, look at all these things I'm accomplishing and I'm freaking exhausted and on the edge of my seat at all times. Calming that nervous system. So that EFT really helps with that. The meditation helps with that. The breathing helps with that. When there's stuff inside that I'm not able, or if it's a jumbled mess and I'm not able to hear clearly or see clearly, I love to journal. I love to meditate and then journal. Because the meditating just calms it all down and the journaling lets it all flow. And sometimes the journaling is to release. And so I just set the intention to release and I let all of the ugly shit pour out. And sometimes it's to clarify. Sometimes it's, I don't know what my next step forward is. And I just ask myself and allow that to flow out from me. Sometimes it's to be grateful for all of the things that I'm experiencing in my life, realizing that, like, even though not every moment feels amazing, for the most part, it's a freaking amazing life. Like, there's so much good things if we are willing to see them versus focus on the bad things. Yeah. And then just a gratitude practice, which is just finding things. So what I personally do is in the morning, affirmations. So I'm just going to give you my morning routine.
Okay. Give it to us. We're ready. Give it to us.
So I wake up to applause. I wake up to my phone, and my phone, instead of it being an annoying it's applause, right? I want to wake up to joy. Okay. And then I say we call it a contract inside if you play PLD. So my contract: I am a beautiful, deserving, inspirational woman, courageously surrendering to intimacy and prosperity in my life now. And then I say affirmations, and affirmations are just I am statements to create or work on a belief. So if I have a belief that I'm worried that I'm not going to make enough money, then I'll say things like, I am always rich, I am always wealthy, I am abundant. I'll say that affirmative statements to shift the mindset. If my mind is always thinking, where's the next money coming from? Where's this coming from? Right? If I say it in the right situation. So first thing in the morning is great because your conscious mind is tired, and so it doesn't fight hard. So if I say it first thing in the morning, it goes in quicker and easier. And then I can change the belief faster and with less effort, which is ideal for me, right? The gentler, the better. Then I go into gratitude. And so I say 10 things externally that I'm grateful for. So I'm grateful for my house. I'm grateful for my car. I'm grateful for the sun. I'm grateful for my, for healthy and nutritious food. And then for me personally, then I read scripture. So that's how I fill myself up. And then at the end of the day, I say 5 things that I'm grateful for of me. and I do this with my kid. So we don't get to cheat and go, well, I'm grateful for external thing, right? Like, no, I'm grateful that I showed up and I got work done. I'm grateful that I pushed through something when it felt uncomfortable. I'm grateful that I gave myself a break when I really needed it. Sort of 5 things that I'm grateful for within me at the end of my day.
Okay.
Other practical things, meditation, journaling. Journaling's huge. Just because, and you get to read it back, right? Like, just to get that stuff out there and then read it. And you can do, like, if you're doing it for releasing or to just get it out, then you can tear it up, you can destroy it, right? You don't have to keep it there. However, just to get it out of us, because if we're not getting it out of us, we're holding it inside of us. And the most loving thing we can do is to let go of that negative, unhappy, shitty feelings, right? Let's get rid of those so that we can replace it with good things. I'm trying to think. That's all I can think of at the top of my head right now.
Okay, those were all great. I mean, you can start anywhere in there. And the fact that you said about journaling, you can journal, to release, or you can, journal. Because I think for me, sometimes journaling started to become more like a task, because it's just like, I know sometimes the things that go through my head or the things that I'm experiencing or that I'm feeling, and it's already enough to go through them and to be aware, to recognize them. However, it's something that when you see it on paper, it's just like, oh, it's so, it's so visceral. Like, what the fuck? Like, you know what I mean? So I think that that's one of the things, that stood out to me, is that you can journal with the intent of releasing. The fact that you're journaling it does not make that who you are, does not make that your all the time thoughts. You're in a place, you're streaming, you're writing those things, and maybe maybe the reality of it is what is then transcribed on that piece of paper is super shitty. You know what I mean? Or it is so that is something that comes with it. However, like you said, it's better out than in, for us to be able to streamline those thoughts and to write it. And it doesn't have to have any rhyme or reason, just write it out, write the thoughts, and journaling is good. And if you can do it, in the morning or at the end of the day, or just when it comes to you, that's a really good thing. The NFT is kind of cool. Like, when you first start to do it, it seems kind of silly. However, you watch videos and there's certain, which makes sense, right? Because there's acupuncture and things in which you have pressure points, etc. So if you are interested in that, definitely look up some YouTube videos regarding that. And also, I would say for the mindset of, like, just reprogramming, renewing the mindset, the affirmations. The affirmations is not always the easiest, right? For us to look in our mirror. We talked about looking at that reflection earlier and say, I am beautiful, I am this, I am that. Would you say, just, quickly, would you say, do you believe in the ideal of say it till you make it, or fake it till you make it? You know how we've heard this term, like, fake it till you make it. Is that what affirmations is? Like, saying something until you actually see it manifest? Or
it depends. So if saying it feels really like fake, don't say it.
okay.
So maybe the tactic is to remove. So so then the affirmation would be, I'm letting go of, or I am no longer blah blah blah, right? So the affirmation might come from, the affirmation might be releasing until you release it. And then, so because with affirmations, it's tricky because our conscious mind might not like the affirmation.
Right.
It's just protecting what's already happening in here.
Okay.
So if it triggers the conscious mind so that it feels so fake coming out, start with releasing first. Say the affirmation to release the belief. And then once that's out enough, then put in what you want. But if it's too big, I feel, so I like to see us as like we're cups, right?
Right.
If we're completely full and there's no space because we've been shoving shit in us in forever, then we're completely full, right? So then we got to let go so we can put good in.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. That's so cool that you brought up that, because that reminds me of an analogy that while you were talking, I was thinking about. So I just love this like organic, like, conversation, because it really brought to mind, like you were saying. So in my mind's eye view, what I see is like a cup. Like, so I have my glass water bottle, right? So if this is full of the programming, right, as we call it, programming, which happens in certain stages more than other stages, from the time that you're 0 to 4 years old, 4 to 8 years old, and then as you get older. But there's certain things that happen that pretty much sets the foundation of our mindset early on, like 0 to 4, 4 to 8. You're pretty much already the bite-sized, small, you know what I mean, human being that you're going to be. You're just in a smaller frame, you know what I mean, or age-wise, right? But it already creates those mindsets. So when you think of this, I'm thinking, okay, like you said, the contents, you can only put more into it. So if this is the bottle, right, and it already has water in it, and this water is murky, and this water is dirty, and it has sediments, and it has other things in it that's not healthy or conducive to where I'm at or what I'm doing right now as far as my mindset. And let's say that you're not able to pick this bottle up and pour it out, right? Because there's no blinky thing. You remember the blinky thing from Men in Black, in which, like, if they exceed something that they weren't supposed to see, they would just like hold it up there and be like, chi-ching, and then like you just forget it all, everything. You're like, oh, where am I? Oh, like, how did I end up in my bed? You don't know any of the things that happen, the aliens or anything.
Yeah.
That would be great. And I'm sure that our government might have already been working on something like that. It's a patent off the record, but we're not going to go down a conspiracy theory lane. However, that might exist, but for the majority of the public, that does not exist, right? So when it says, oh, forgive and don't forget, and like, all these things, the program that is in there is hardwired. So we're technically, it's impossible. Like, unless you just, God forbid, I mean, they say people have selective amnesia, but most of the time it's from suppressing. So a lot of times we suppress it, however, we never forget about it. And again, it affects our nervous system, like you said, and that's why people manifest diseases and other ailments, because what have we done? We've taken this, know that the water is all dirty, sediments and crud and stuff in it, and then we just suppress it, or we continue to drink it, etc. So the analogy that came to mind is like, if this is the glass bottle, and this is what's going on with our mindset, and we're not able to actually pick this up and pour out the contents, right? How would you get this water to go from being dirty and murky to being clear? And what I thought is pouring clean water inside of it.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like the affirmations. That's like the mindset, the renewing of the mind, is that no, I'm not able to completely forget all the programming that I had that's hardwired in me. However, what I can do is I can take, because it's abundance, right? In the universe, what God gives us, it's abundance. So let me get a gallon of water, right? Because this clearly is not going to hold a gallon. Let me get a gallon of water, and over time, let me continue to pour from that gallon, which is actually infinite or abundant, right? Let me continue to pour into this bottle. Sooner or later, what's dark and murky is going to get clearer. The sediments are going to start to kind of rise up. It's going to start to overflow. And then you just keep pouring, keep pouring. Sooner or later, it's going to filter out those things. Would you look at it and maybe see a few things floating around in it? Yeah, maybe a little backwash. But if you put enough water, into there, it's going to clear out the sediments and stuff. So that's what visually came to mind when you were talking about affirmations, because our mind will want to say, if I know that I'm in a place of scarcity and my work ethic, or things are going on financially, yeah, it sounds great to have an affirmation and say I'm a billionaire. However, between this place of I got $25 in my checking account, you know what I mean, I hope something doesn't bounce, to I'm a billionaire, it's quite the distance, mindset wise, even, right? So once the mindset shifts, the paradigm shifts, so it doesn't have to, there is no time to say, oh, it's going to take this long. Like, it could happen. But realistically, there's not even a billionaire lottery. So like there's really no way to say overnight I became a billionaire. You know, like they all tell you that there's a process, there's a journey to work there. So it's like a lot of times in affirmations, I think sometimes while we talk ourselves out of it is because it's so contrary to where our present is, where our
Mm,
life is, what's going on. So to say that I'm, you know, or to be dealing with an image issue of the way that I look, and I'm like, oh, I'm in the best shape of my life, and I'm beautiful, and I'm loved, and I'm, you know, all these things in our mind is like, uh-uh, no, you ain't. Like,
yeah.
why you lying? Like, why you fronting? Like, nah, you know. So that's
Mm.
where it kind of becomes like this. Okay, do affirmations really work? You know, I hear a lot of people say, like, do they really work? Because me waking up, you know what I mean, here in this setting saying like, oh, I'm a billionaire every day, or I'm this, or I'm that. How does that really shift or change me? So that's what came to mind. So that's really great that you touched on that. Um, and so, yeah, mindset. Wow. Like my mindset is huge. I mean, we could literally go on for hours and hours and hours. I think on this topic because it's ever
Yeah.
evolving. It's never changing. I do know that you also mentioned something that I've mentioned, and I said in the beginning or somewhere in there, about if someone actually wants to take themselves on and make an
Mhm.
investment into themselves, right? For mindset in order to kind of um, begin to pour clean water, you know, into the bottle. So we talked about it because it's something that we kind of took on, and of course, we are the most important investment, right? The gift that just keeps on giving. If you could just touch on Psi seminars. So PSI, what is that? And just give a small little, you know, small little shout out to them because I mean that's kind of how we met. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We were on that journey that was, you know, linear, and we crossed paths. So if you could just briefly just kind of talk on what that is or how people can take themselves on for a mindset.
Yeah. So Psi is Personal Success Institute, right? It's
Yeah,
personal,
yeah.
it's
Or
personal
old
success.
school, right? People
Yeah.
synergistically evolve, but that's, you know, we're 2021 now, you know. So.
Yeah. So I can't say enough good things about Psi. Psi is built so geniusly that it just kind of is, I see it. So just to, it is a fire hose to the face of personal development. Right?
Wow.
It is 3 days that will equal 3 years. It will talk about a concept and then you will immediately get to experience it, which I think that's the difference, right? Because hearing something, um, reading something, it's different than actually experiencing it and being immersed in it. So one
Mm.
of the beautiful things that Size does is it talks about it and then you're immediately immersed in it. So that you can get to experience it and you can get to see what's in you, right? Like what's in, well, mine's, you can't see through mine, but what's in my water bottle, right? Is this
Right.
clear or is
What
this
is in
muddy?
your water bottle? Is it really water? Like,
But I don't know of something that can do it quicker, faster, and more to the point.
okay.
Um, every time I did a step inside, I wanted more. And it was just because, like, ooh, this is a beautiful realm of healing and growth. Again, I'm using big words. This is an area where you can go to, where you can go to like the basic is a 3-day workshop. You can go to a 3-day workshop and you can walk out a completely different person. Because you will have seen things in yourself that you get to make the decision. Does this get to continue to live in me or do I get to change this? Um, yeah, I can't say enough good things about it. They have advanced classes. The advanced classes, I think everyone should just do the whole damn journey. Like, and if you need to take it one step at a time, take it one step at a time. But to just go in, at the very least, you're going to go in perhaps thinking things are happening to you and blaming
Right.
the world.
Right.
And at the end of the 3 days, you're going to walk out with knowledge of how you can see how, no, once you decide to take ownership, you can change the game.
Mm.
So it gives you that because it's your choice. Like, you can come out and still say, screw the world's coming after me. But it gives you the opportunity to really empower yourself and decide, like, no, I'm going to change the game. I'm going to decide how my life is going to be from here on out. And I have known, like, everyone comes out happier because we give our power away so easily. And to go into a place where 3 days later you come out going, no, this shit is mine. I'm in control of this. I get to decide, is joyful and empowering.
Awesome. Yeah, I have so many great things to say. You'll probably hear me talk about side seminars and drop that in podcasts to come, just because, like, it's ever growing, and it's made such a transcendental, transformational, impact into my life. So I'm super grateful. We all have our own individual experiences, and this is not going to become a side promo. However, it's a shout out. It's a life that I'm living, I'm experiencing. So I'm going to talk about it. For those, it is an investment. For those that are not maybe ready to take on that, maybe it sounds too out there, too esoteric, too, oh, it's a cult, or, I don't know if I want to go, for 3 days, what are they going to tell me? Or for people that are, are still super, maybe see things a certain way, whether it's religion or whether it's spiritual, it really it's none of that, so you don't have to worry about, your faith being tampered with or being exposed to something that would be detrimental. It's all about personal, professional development, relationships, just get you to dream again, to cast vision. If you do vision boards, you can actually see what it's like to experience it. So we all learn from our experiences. And if you're, you want to check out PSI seminars, so sciseminars.com. There's more information. You can see if there's anything going on locally for you. And then also, Gloria, you have an amazing program. You have a number of programs, but one that I'm familiar with is your magnificent, just that word alone, magnificent, your magnificent mastermind. So if you could just do a plug and kind of tell us more about the magnificent mastermind, when the next class is going to start, what that kind of looks like, if you could do that.
Yeah, thank you. Yes. So Magnificent Mastermind is a total of 13 weeks. It's 12 weeks so the whole intention is to go after a big goal that scares you, that you've been putting off. So you set up that big goal, and then you figure out the benchmarkers or the mini goals that lead to that big goal. And so that you can know that as long as you're hitting those mini goals, then you're going to reach your big goal. And then it's 12 weeks of going after it. We start with what's called a heart share, which is just a vomit out anything that's bothering you moment. And then we talk about wins. We do want to celebrate our wins and create evidence that we can accomplish things, and that we are, like, success is inevitable. Then we go into challenges, which is where you're having an issue and your team can come up with some options for you that you can decide whether or not you want to take their advice, but it's at least giving you outside perspective to what you're seeing as a problem. They're giving you some solutions. And then we go into accountability. So what you said last week, did you do what you said you were going to do last week? You do have the chance to reflect, if you want to, about what worked and what didn't work. So that can be a moment of, okay, well, what didn't work is this, and so I can stop doing that. And what did work is this, so I can do more of that. Then you decide what's going on, your next steps. So what you're going to do next week. We focus on gratitude, and then there's always a coaching moment. The coaching moment, I am in complete surrender. I don't have a plan. So the first one is a walkthrough. The second one, we talk about vision. Then we talk about your why. And then after that, it's completely open. And so it's kind of like, because I'm with everyone every week, just sort of feeling what's going on with the team and sort of what does the team need to hear. And then I teach on that. It can be a 5-minute. It can sometimes be 15 minutes. We've done really deep ones that have gone like 20 minutes. And then that's it. So 12 weeks of that. The 13th week is just a celebration. I truly believe that you can't beat yourself up into greatness. You got to love yourself there. So that 13th week, it is purely about what we did and how we did show up. And so that's that 13th week of just celebrating how far we've come, because maybe you didn't get one, maybe you did get 100% of your goal, maybe you got 120% of your goal, maybe you got 70% of your goal. However, 70% of something that you've been putting off for a long time is huge. And so celebrating that so that you can keep that momentum going, right? And that's it. I love it. I got called to do it, so I did it. I'm on my second round. The next one, so the second round, where our 13th week is this coming Tuesday, and so we're celebrating. And then and then I'm taking a week off, and then the next one I'm changing to Thursdays at 7:00. So it'll be Thursdays at 7:00 starting on April 15th.
Yes, and that's 7:00 Hawaii time. So in case
Yes.
there's anyone that's not in Hawaii, it would be 7:00 Hawaiian time. And yes, it's a magnificent mastermind. Like the name is self-explanatory. It's great, and I'm coming up on the celebration and the graduation. And if you could just say for us that quote again that you just mentioned. You said it really fast. What was it again?
You can't beat yourself up into greatness. You've got to love yourself there.
Yeah, we talked about all of that throughout this podcast. We've talked about mindset, loving yourself, embracing your greatness. So yeah, definitely. I first want to start by we're gonna begin to wrap this up because we could go on and on with this. So I want to be mindful of the time. So again, I want to first start by gratitude and self-love when it comes to that. So I want to thank myself. I want to thank myself for showing up today. I want to thank myself for actually stepping into my greatness to say, okay, I desire to have a podcast. I believe I'm supposed to have a podcast, and actually doing it. So this is living proof that, like you said, wherever you start at, it's growth. So I want to thank myself for that. I want to thank you all, because or else I would just be sitting here, which talking to Gloria is great. However, if you are watching it on my YouTube channel, that means that you showed up today. That something about the title of this, something about maybe even knowing me or Gloria or support, or things just aligned, right? In order to allow you to find and discover this YouTube channel. So thank you so much to you, the listener, the viewer, as well. I'm super grateful. So make sure that I think what they say is like, subscribe, thumbs up, share, comment. If you have questions about this topic when it comes to mindset, drop your question in the comment section below, and myself or Gloria will do our best in order to respond to you. So definitely do that. And then also I want to thank, last but not least, Gloria. Like, thank you so much for just being open and saying yes. I absolutely am so grateful for your friendship and everything, and the fact that you said yes. And I'm glad we were able to, just have this conversation today. So thank you. And then also just keep an eye. I'm going to do a shameless plug for myself. It's keep an eye out on the EYG Now brand. So it's going to be a brand of apparel, accessories, merchandise that focuses on edification and affirmations. So, we are what we eat, what we wear. We're the walking billboard to those around us. So it is going to be the Embrace Your Greatness Now, or EYG Now, hashtag that, of course, when it comes to the brand and what's going to be coming forward. So please keep an eye on that. I would love to see you, chic out, swagged out, and everything, finessed with the apparel of the EYG. You're really saying something. And then also, there will be more podcasts. So if you are listening, or someone that has a passion that would be considered an expert about something, or just something that they're really passionate about, I'm looking to have a conversation with those in our lives, our peers that are already successful in their own right, that we can just, drop gems through our everyday conversations. So if you know someone, if that's you, or if you know someone that would fit that description, please send them my way. Shoot me an email at eyg.now@gmail.com, Also, you can find me on all the social media outlets, Facebook, as Nina Norman. I'm gonna kind of tweak that, make it more professional for everything. However, if you want to be my personal friend, do that until I create another page. And then also on Instagram, if you could, if you're into Instagram and you want to follow me on Instagram, then that's great as well too. So my Instagram, what is my Instagram? It's I am, right? So affirmations. So I am dot the THE and then it's message in her, right? So it's MESSAGE, the letter N, and then her HER. So follow me on that as well. And then the YouTube channel is EYG Now. So hashtag EYG Now. And yeah, let's get that hashtag going. You know what I mean? And then if people want to reach out to you, how can they find you, Gloria?
Sure. I am so my website is Hot Empowered Mess Movement. So HITHOTEMPOWEREDMESSMOVEMENT. And I'm Gloria Payoyo. So G Payoyo on Instagram, Gloria Payoyo on Facebook. However, I believe all that's linked on my website. So hotempoweredmessmovement.com.
Okay, awesome. So yeah, I'm super excited, and we're gonna bring this you know what I mean, we're gonna simmer back down. So I guess you know, I like to end this on a high vibrational note. So my question to you, Gloria, today, for everyone watching, for everyone listening, what would be the gem that you would like to drop and leave us with today?
I think the quote, can't beat yourself up into greatness. You got to love yourself there.
Yes. Greatness is ours. Please do not beat yourself up into greatness. Love yourself. Love. Yes, love conquers all, not to be cliche. And just continue to grow and go in your love journey. Love out loud. EYG Now. Embrace your greatness so that we collectively can embrace our greatness. Again, thank you, Gloria, for coming onto the podcast today. And yeah, I'm excited for what's still yet to come, and our best is still yet to come. So EYG Now. Thank you. Aloha.
Thank you.